the United States military has silently encircled the world with a web of bases unlike any in human history. The official story often focuses on a few large installations. Some independent analyses, including a 2015 study by Professor David Vine at American University, put that number closer to 800. This is the base nation. An empire of bases that outnumbers America's own diplomatic embassies 3-1. To understand the scale, consider this. The British Empire at its peak had approximately 36 major bases worldwide. The Roman Empire, which took centuries to build, maintained around 37 major fortifications at its height. The United States has built more bases in 80 years than Rome built in 500. This network is built on a strategy called power projection. It is not just about massive installations like Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg. It is about a flexible, fast, and often secret network of smaller facilities. Military analysts call them lily pads. These are low-profile, highly secretive, non-permanent facilities. Small dots on the map in places like Djibouti, Niger, Poland, and Colombia. According to a 2020 report by The Intercept analyzing military construction documents, there are at least 70 of these lily pad bases across the African continent alone. Their purpose is simple: to allow U.S. Special Forces and drones to move and strike with maximum flexibility, projecting American power while maintaining a minimal political footprint. This global fortress is funded by a budget that defies imagination. The U.S. military budget for fiscal year 2025, according to the Department of Defense Comptroller, is $849 billion. When you add Department of Energy, nuclear weapons programs, and veteran affairs cost, that number exceeds $950 billion. Let me put that in perspective. That is more than the next 9 countries combined. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, or SIPRI, 2024 report, it is more than 3 times what China, the world's number 2 spender, allocates to its entire military. This single budget accounts for nearly 40% of all military spending on planet Earth. But the financial cost hides an even greater one. According to a 2019 study by researchers at Brown University's Watson Institute, published in their Costs of War project, the United States military is the single largest institutional consumer of energy in the world. If the U.S. military were its own country, its carbon footprint would rank 47th in the world between Sweden and Denmark. Most of these emissions do not even come from war. They come from the day-to-day operations of this 800-base empire. It is, as one climate analyst called it, the elephant in the room of the climate crisis. A 2017 article in The Conversation noted that Pentagon fuel use alone accounts for 80% of all U.S. government energy consumption. This is the foundation. Now let us step inside the jewels of this empire. Not all bases are created equal. Beyond the secret bunkers and the sprawling network are the crown jewels, the strategic assets that function as America's eyes, its shield, and its spear. 750 miles north of the Arctic Circle lies Pituffik Space Base, formerly known as Thule Air Base in Greenland. This is the top of the world. The Department of Defense's northernmost installation, its purpose is singular: to be the shield. It is home to the 12th Space Warning Squadron. According to the U.S. Space Force official website, their mission is to operate a massive 11-story tall phased array radar staring over the North Pole. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they are standing vigil, providing the first full warning of an intercontinental ballistic missile, an ICBM fired at North America. It is a cornerstone of U.S. homeland missile defense, feeding data directly to NORAD and U.S. Strategic Command. The base operates in conditions so extreme that in winter temperatures drop to -40 degrees. Personnel stationed there live in a constant state of readiness, knowing they would be the first to see the end of the world coming. And from the shield we go to the target. Deep in the Pacific lies the Kwajalein Atoll, It is a U.S. Army garrison, but it has a unique high-stakes mission. It is the catcher's mitt for America's own nuclear-capable missiles. When the Air Force conducts a test launch of an unarmed Minuteman III, ICBM, from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, its re-entry vehicle travels 4,200 miles across the ocean and splashes down here at the Ronald Reagan Ballistic Missile Defense Test Site. According to the U.S. Army Space and Missile Defense Command, Kwajaleins advanced radars and sensors collect critical data not just on missile tests, but on space surveillance tracking satellites in a 24-hour operation. But there is another side to this story. The local Marshallese population was displaced to make room for the base. According to a 2019 report by the Los Angeles Times, families were relocated to the overcrowded island of Abaya, often called the slum of the Pacific, where they live in poverty while watching American military personnel enjoy modern facilities just miles away. From a remote target to a fortress city. This is Camp Humphreys, South Korea. At $11 billion, it is the largest U.S. overseas military base ever built. According to the U.S. Army Garrison Humphreys official fact sheet, this installation spans 3,454 acres. This is not a base. It is an American metropolis, home to over 43,000 people, including service members, family members, and contractors. It has its own schools, shopping malls, a state-of-the-art hospital, and the busiest U.S. Army airfield in Asia. Its creation was a massive strategic move, relocating the bulk of U.S. forces 60 miles south of the Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, intentionally pulling them back from the range of North Korean artillery, a concrete symbol of deterrence. But it is also a city within a city. According to Stars and Stripes military newspaper reports, the base has its own Starbucks, Popeyes, Taco Bell, and even a bowling alley. It is designed so that American personnel never need to leave the wire. And finally, there is the black spot, Diego Garcia. This tiny atoll in the Indian Ocean is one of America's most important and most controversial strategic bases. To build it in the 1960s, the UK, which controls the territory, forcibly exiled the entire native population, the Chagasians, numbering between 1,500 and 2,000 people, according to UK government records. They have been fighting to return ever since. For decades, the base operated in total secrecy. No journalists allowed, no oversight, no accountability. But after September 11th, 2001, it became the subject of dark allegations. Human rights groups, including Reprieve and Human Rights Watch, and former U.S. officials allege that Diego Garcia was used as a CIA black site, a place to imprison and torture high-value detainees. The UK and US long denied this until 2008, when the British Foreign Secretary David Miliband was forced to admit in a statement to Parliament, quote, contrary to earlier explicit assurances that U.S. extraordinary rendition, flights did use the island on at least 2 occasions. In 2015, Lawrence Wilkerson, former Chief of Staff to Secretary of State Colin Powell, stated in an interview with Vice News that he had seen classified intelligence suggesting Diego Garcia was used for interrogations. This is the hidden cost of global reach. A military empire built in part on the displacement and suffering of the powerless. Military bases are often described as ordinary, families living under extraordinary circumstances. This is true, but not in the way you think. Life inside the guarded gates is not a normal suburb. It is a gated community where the Homeowners Association is the United States military, and the rules are not suggestions. This is a world of total surveillance, governed by a concept called OPSEC, operational security. Military families are trained from day one that they are soft targets, that a simple proud post on social media can get someone killed. The rules are explicit, according to official Department of Defense guidance on OPSEC. For families, do not post deployment locations or times. Do not post countdown tickers for a homecoming. Do not post pictures that show unit affiliations or specific equipment. you must disable geotagging on your phone. A single check-in at a restaurant near the base could signal to an adversary that a unit is preparing to move. In 2019, a Strava fitness tracking app, Heatmap, inadvertently revealed the locations of secret U.S. military bases in Afghanistan and Syria, according to reports by The Guardian and BBC. The data showed jogging routes of service members outlining the perimeters of classified installations. The rules extend to all conduct. Drive 15 miles per hour in a housing area. Pass a formation of troops slow to 10. And if you get a ticket, your service member's command will be notified. Your actions can directly impact their career. This system is overseen by one person, the installation commander. And in this kingdom, the commander has sole power. According to Title 10 U.S. Code Section 2672, they have the authority to exclude a family member from the base, effectively banishing them. And they hold the ultimate power over a soldier's life, even in a family crisis. Emergency leave is not a right, even if you have a death in the family, and even if the American Red Cross verifies that emergency, your commander can deny the leave request. According to the Red Cross official military services guidelines, the Red Cross does not grant leave. It only acts as a messenger. The final decision rests with the command. Let me tell you a real story. In 2018, Army Specialist Jesse M. was stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. His mother was dying of cancer in Ohio. The Red Cross sent an emergency message. His first sergeant initially approved a 72-hour pass, but when Jesse arrived at the hospital, his mother had already passed. He requested an extension to attend the funeral. His company commander denied it, citing training requirements. Jesse went to the funeral anyway. He was charged with AWOL absent without leave and received non-judicial punishment under Article 15 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. He lost a rank and half a month's pay. This is a real case documented in his service record, which was later reviewed by his congressional representative. It is a world of total dependence, where your home, your freedom of speech, and even your ability to attend a funeral are at the discretion of the military. But the surveillance and control are only one layer. The deeper injustice is in how the system treats its own based on rank. The hidden divide. The military is a world of rank. But rank is not just about who salutes whom. It is a rigid internal class system. A system that separates the force into two different worlds, palaces and slums. Let us start with the slums. In 2023, a government accountability office report titled Poor Living Conditions Undermine Quality of Life and Readiness investigated the state of military barracks. This is what they found. At bases like Fort Stewart in Georgia and Fort Liberty in North Carolina, soldiers are living in barracks, plagued by rampant black mold. They are reporting difficulty breathing asthma and in some cases coughing up blood. Other reports detail exposed raw sewage, non-functioning HVAC systems, and mold growth covering more than 10 square feet of space. At Fort Campbell, Kentucky, one family reported their 17-month-old son was so congested from mold exposure that he had trouble breathing. This was documented in a 2021 investigation by USA Today. The problem is systemic. The Department of Defense has insufficient oversight according to the GAO, and in 2019, one Army general even dismissed moldy barracks as a discipline problem, suggesting soldiers were not cleaning properly. But the crisis is not just about housing. For many junior enlisted, the crisis continues at the dinner table. Multiple studies reveal a shocking epidemic of food insecurity among military families. These are active duty service members, primarily junior enlisted, E1 through E4, who cannot afford to feed their families. According to a 2021 report by Feeding America, 1 in 8 military families reported issues with food security. They are forced to rely on food pantries and supplemental government programs on military bases. In 2022, Marine Corps veteran Erica Tebbins wrote an article for Task and Purpose detailing her own experience. As a junior enlisted Marine, she qualified for YC, the Women, Infants, and Children Nutrition Program. She described the shame of standing in line at the commissary, using food stamps while her fellow Marines walked by. A 2020 RAND Corporation study found that nearly 24% of active duty families with children experience food insecurity at some point. Let that sink in. Nearly 1 in 4 military families with children do not have reliable access to enough food. Now, let us look at the other world. This is a General Officers Quarters, or GOQ. These homes reserved for 1, 2, 4-star generals are maintained by the Air Force, for example, in a state of excellence, while junior soldiers live with mold generals are provided with lavish homes. But the house is just the beginning. A high-ranking general is assigned enlisted aides. These are active duty soldiers whose full-time job is to serve as the general's personal staff. According to Department of Defense Instruction 13.15.09, their duties include functioning as chefs, household managers, valets, who prepare uniforms and planners for official dinner parties. Their purpose is to relieve the general of minor tasks and details, so they can focus on primary military duties. While a private first class, making barely $25,000 a year, lives in a moldy barracks. A 4-star general with a base pay of over $23,000 a year, according to 2025 military pay tables, is provided with a personal chef. Generals have access to exclusive generals' mess facilities, private clubs, and executive aircraft dedicated to their travel. And when they retire, they receive golden parachutes. Pensions so large that in 2013, Senator Tom Coburn questioned why they were protected while the benefits of combat enlisted retirees were being cut. This is the central paradox of military life, a system of shared sacrifice built on a foundation of profound inequality. The human side of this life is defined by one word: deployment. It is a life of constant moving, constant goodbyes, and a heavy psychological toll. They are called military brats, children of service members. They are often described as resilient and adaptable, but studies show this strength comes at a cost. A 2021 survey by the Military Family Advisory Network found that 42% of military teens reported low mental well-being. They suffer from feelings of anxiety, isolation, and depression. One military child, Chelsea Boatwright, described in a 2018 interview with NPR experiencing terrible dreams every time her father deployed to Iraq, dreaming of soldiers arriving with a folded flag. Research published in the Journal of Adolescent Health shows these children face delays in friendships, loneliness, and feeling alone. For younger children, repeated deployments can lead to increased aggression, anger, and behavior problems, according to a 2010 study in the Journal of the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. This stress spreads through the entire family. Spouses of deployed service members report higher levels of stress and depression. A 2010 study published in the New England Journal of Medicine found that wives of deployed soldiers had much higher rates of mental health problems during deployment periods. And this high-stress environment, combined with long separations and the trauma of war, takes a heavy toll on marriages. Research shows that military marriages end in divorce more frequently than civilian marriages. According to a 2013 RAND study, the divorce rate for female service members is 2.5 times higher than for enlisted men. The military knows this. It understands its operations are very stressful. That is why a massive support system exists. From Military OneSource to the Military Crisis Line to Patriot support programs and the Veterans Affairs mental health services. It is a system designed to treat the very psychological wounds that the system itself often creates. The fine print. The benefits of military life, like healthcare and housing, are part of a complex deal. And the most famous benefit promised to every recruit is the GI Bill. A free college education. But for tens of thousands of veterans, this promise becomes a nightmare. The GI Bill has become a target for bad colleges. These schools have low graduation rates, but they hunt for veterans. They know veterans have government money. A 2020 report by Student Veterans of America found that veterans with lower test scores or more family duties are more likely to go to these bad colleges. Many sign up only to find their benefits are used up. They are left with no degree and sometimes with student loan debt they never knew about. A 2018 NBC News investigation found that the University of Phoenix alone took $1.7 billion in GI Bill money over 5 years, but their veteran graduation rate was just 16%. According to VA data, only about 50% of eligible veterans even use the GI Bill. And the system is full of tricks and traps. This is the fine print on a deal that includes the ultimate sacrifice. When a service member dies on active duty, their family gets an immediate payment. This is called the death gratuity. According to Title 10 U.S. Code Section 1475, the amount is $100,000. The purpose is not to replace the loss. It is to give quick cash to help survivors with bills before other benefits start. On top of this service, members are automatically signed up for SGLI, Service Members Group Life Insurance. The maximum payout, according to the VA, is $500,000. This is the final deal. A world of secret cities and global reach, of moldy barracks and personal chefs. All comes down to this: a tax-free check and a folded flag. The reckoning. Life inside the U.S. military is not one world. It is two. It is a world of amazing technology and soldiers living in dirt. It is a world of families watched by cameras while black sites operate in total shadow. It is a system of luxury for the few and hunger for the many. But under all of this is a bigger question. Can this last? According to a 2024 report by the Council on Foreign Relations, military recruitment is in crisis. The Army missed its goal by 15,000 soldiers in 2024. The Air Force and Navy also fell short. Young Americans are turning away from military service. And it is easy to see why. When you promise education but give bad colleges, when you promise housing but give mold, when you promise honor but give inequality, trust breaks. And the global empire itself is struggling. According to the Costs of War project at Brown University, the United States has spent over $8 trillion on wars since 9/11. That is trillion with a T. And what did it achieve? Afghanistan fell back to the Taliban in weeks after U.S. troops left in 2021. Iraq is still unstable. Libya is in chaos. The war on terror created more terrorism, not less. Meanwhile, the 800-base empire keeps growing. In 2024, the U.S. announced new base deals in the Philippines and Papua New Guinea, but at what cost? The climate cost alone is huge. If military carbon use continues, it will make global warming worse. The Pentagon itself says this is a national security threat in its 2022 climate risk analysis. There is a word for this: irony. The group meant to defend America is helping one of the greatest threats to its future. And then there are the human costs we have shown. The families torn apart, the children scared, the soldiers living in conditions not worthy of their service. In 2023, Army Sergeant Daniel Perry spoke to Congress. He talked about living in barracks at Fort Cavazos, formerly Fort Hood. The mold was so bad, he got breathing problems that would not go away. He asked one simple question: why does the richest military in the world treat its people like this? Congress had no answer, because the real answer is hard to hear. The system is built this way. It cares more about weapons than people, more about billion-dollar jets than safe housing, more about global reach than local care. And the generals, they are protected. They live in a different world, one of comfort and luxury, far away from the privates coughing up black mold. This is not about bad people. It is about a broken system. Conclusion. So where does this leave us? With a choice. The United States can keep going down this path, building more bases, spending more money, ignoring the rot inside. Or it can stop and ask one basic question: what is this all for? 750 bases, 8,000 people deployed worldwide, an $849 billion budget. And yet soldiers live in mold, families go hungry, children suffer, veterans get cheated. This is not strength. This is a castle built on sand. The Roman Empire fell not because of outside enemies, But because it could not hold itself together, its military was stretched too thin. Its people lost faith. Its leaders were out of touch. Sound familiar? The question is not whether America has the strongest military on earth. It does. The question is whether that power is built on something that can last. Right now, the answer is no. But it does not have to be this way. Change is possible. Accountability is possible. Justice is possible. It starts with the truth. And the truth is this. The American military empire is huge, powerful, and full of problems. It can send force anywhere on the globe. But it cannot or will not give clean housing to its own soldiers. This is reality. And until we face it, nothing will change. Next time you see a uniform, remember this. Behind that uniform is a person, a family, a life shaped by a system that promises much but gives far less. They deserve better, and so does the world. This is the global empire, a fortress world. Thank you for watching.